We're going to do something different here tonight. Apple cider for the drink cucks. The apple cider, though, also indicates that it's fall right now. And for the first time, we're going to do a Panda ranking movie review. So we've talked about movies on this channel before, but we know you guys love our Panda rankings for games. It's time we apply them to movies. And what better fall movie than sketch comedy troupe? That's a bad idea. With their hilarious viral videos. They made a movie for $800 that they then tried to get distribution for, and nobody would pick it up. So they posted the movie on the That's a Bad Idea YouTube channel, and it did so well that they now have a $10 million movie deal that was recently announced to make a new movie for a studio. So first off, Kelly, before we even get into any of this stuff, what is your level of familiarity with their sketch comedy stuff?
None whatsoever. Hadn't even heard of it.
Nice. Nice. I'm a big fan of their stuff. It's comedy, but there's kind of a dark tone to a lot of it. I'm really a big fan of their stuff. And it was one of those things where they just started to randomly pop up in my feed, like shorts and things like that. So I started checking out more and more of their stuff. And then I was like, oh, they made a movie and watch that. So when I said, because you were asking me what would be a good movie for this not only seemed Halloweenish, but now, even though this came out last year, it's timely now because they just made that big movie deal. Uh, what did you think when I was like, sketch comedy show made a
Well, so
movie?
so I had like no frame of reference whatsoever. So I just went straight into the movie. Uh, Maybe got a slight hint of context that there were a pair of guys, a partnership, but not really much. And then I finished it and I go, do they have any others? And so I went in, and that's when it became clear to me, oh, mostly it's sketch comedy. And you're right, sketch comedy, but there's a darker undercurrent. So it's like that small cut on your leg that eventually gets infected and turns into this movie, which is just the little darkness that was there before exploded in this movie because there's not a lot of chuckles in this movie as far as I'm concerned. Spoiler alert, I really liked this movie, but I would not have guessed this was a comedy group. And so it was really interesting to see. And as we kind of go through, it makes sense to me why they got an offer after watching this, so which we'll get into. So we wanted to reuse our music ratings, but we figured that probably wouldn't work quite as well. So for the movie ranking, we'll still do the 1 to 5 pandas, reserving the right to throw a 0 panda out if we feel necessary on something. We are going to allow that. But the main categories we will be covering are plot, the acting, the music slash score, the visuals. And so for the visuals, this is the cinematography, special effects, anything that just kind of the direction, I guess you could probably include in there quite a bit. And then a favorite quote from the movie, and then kind of ranking that quote on, give it a panda ranking as well to kind of say this is a 3 panda quote or a 4 panda quote or whatever. So those would be the categories. Um, so why don't we just go ahead and get started with the plot? Um, I'll start. I'm going to give this 4 pandas because I thought it was an excellent plot. Just to kind of level set folks on this, it's a found footage type movie is what it is. So feels a lot like Cloverfield in the rhythm of it from that respect. Maybe a little Blair Witch, but mostly kind of a Cloverfield feel to it. And it kind of ends up kind of telling the tale of guys that are kind of goofy YouTube guys that do practical jokes, and things go horribly, horribly awry as they go through for layers. So I thought I could buy into the plot. There weren't huge amounts of uh, leaps of faith I had to make. This seemed all highly plausible or reasonable. There was decent character development, and that I kind of got a sense of the folks. But I learned on my way through, it's like, oh, that old guy's kind of creepy, and he was. But then, oh, okay, Milk's kind of creepy too. And the main two characters are Milk and Seven. They're the two guys that run the the plot or the YouTube channel, the pranks and all that. So I thought the plot was great. I'm not sure exactly how much we'll go through it. In terms of details, I don't know if this is a spoiler one or not. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, but I highly recommend folks watching it. So definitely four pandas for me on plot.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go four pandas as well. The only thing keeping it from a five probably for me is they weren't the first ones to kind of do the YouTuber influencer thing. That's been the past couple years. There's been a few movies that have trickled out about that, and it makes sense. It's just such a big part of our culture now. YouTube, people watch YouTube like we used to watch network TV at this point. So it makes sense that those are the kind of stories that are starting to be told. And obviously, they're YouTubers. So doing this, YouTube channel guys that are sort of, alternate universe versions of themselves in the beginning makes sense that that's, the direction that they would go. That's probably the only thing keeping it from a five because the rest of it, what feels different about this than a lot of the other movies that have done this is there's an authenticity to it because they are actually YouTubers. So they really understand this world and kind of when they're shooting their videos within the movie and stuff, they understand the structure of YouTube videos and things. One of my problems when you watch a lot of these movies where somebody's doing a live stream or a YouTube video or whatever it might be, it doesn't feel like an authentic YouTube video. It's somebody playing doing that. Or in the Tropic Thunder sense, it's a dude pretending to be a dude dressed as another dude kind of thing. So this feels like it's authentic YouTubers because it is.
So now we're going to move on to acting, and so some behind the scenes stuff for you folks. We're going to likely do a movie review in November as well, something that's maybe a little more Thanksgiving oriented. I got my wires crossed and ended up watching that one and taking notes prior to this one. I'm not going to do a lot of contrast. I'm going to be doing a lot of contrasting when we talk about the second one, but I went in to this movie once I got a little bit of the background on kind of where these guys were, and seeing it was going to be a found footage thing on acting, and going, well, we'll see. I'm going to give them five pandas for acting, kind of top to bottom the whole cast, because having just made my way through a different movie where it was painfully evident that there was awkwardness. You get things that would just take you out of it. Very affected kind of responses. This was, I mean, total to me, totally believable. None of these folks, and I'm assuming none of these folks are professional actors that they had do this. They all had their character down, played their character super consistent. I never, even for the slightest second, ever kind of go, well, that didn't land right or whatever. It just was to me eminently believable, and particularly for Curry Baker, who wrote this, directed it, did the music for it, and his Milk, who's got probably he's playing a tough role to play and stay believable, which is someone who's pretty psychotic. He kind of eased into revealing his psychosis to the audience in a nice way. And like I said, I bought into it. There was no overacting, no unnecessary beats for me. I just chef's kiss, thought it was excellent. Five pandas on acting for me.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go five as well. I mean, you could argue that sure they're playing YouTubers, so this is, what they do, so is that much of a stretch? But they're not actors, they're YouTubers and comedians. And I guess comedians are actors, but it's a different thing doing sketch comedy than doing something like this. They're not selling the joke, they're selling these characters. So even though surface level you could say there's similarities, it really is a different thing. And there's something, and not, I'm not a filmmaker, but I've worked on a handful of low budget horror movies, and you learn really quickly when you're making stuff. And honestly, every movie I worked on had a bigger budget than this. So you learn very quickly in low budget filmmaking. Don't stick rigidly to the script because you're probably not working with Academy Award level actors. So you want them to say it in a way that seems natural to them because it's going to be better. If they're reading the line it's going to sound like somebody reading a line. And it never feels like that. And too many times, and I think it's because so many people now have grown up on slasher movies and, police procedural thrillers and things like that, that there's sort of like, especially like you were saying with the kind of crazy person thing or killer thing, there's a sort of like canned bad guy killer kind of thing that people do. And this isn't that.
Nope. And it was just I was amazed top to bottom. Every single person just was hitting on all cylinders. Big part, small part. The guy who plays the old creepy old man I mentioned a little bit earlier has multiple facets to his personality, each of which is eminently believable and just great. So, all right, now for score slash music, which, as I mentioned, Curry Baker did that as well. And so this isn't like a knock, but I'm going to give it a three, which is still solid. I think it supported the action pretty well. It kind of is what you might guess might expect in something like this. So it wasn't overly ambitious in terms of like a, hey, I'm going to come up with a different approach to it. The only reason I'm kind of going with a three is that I noticed it on occasion where I was like, oh, okay, here's, I was like, that's what they're doing with the music here, where it just, to me, when you kind of execute it perfectly, it is so ingrained with the scene that you know it's there and you notice it's there, but you don't like actually notice, oh, they're laying this music over this part of the movie. It's just as part of the overall fabric. So it's good. It works for the it works for it. It's not like it's bad, but I do think there were just a couple times where I think I shouldn't have noticed it as much as I did.
Yeah, I agree. I'm probably going to go with the three as well. I don't dislike it anyway. So music is something I really, really pay attention to in movies, obviously. So it's something I'm a little bit more critical of than some people probably are. And I love found footage movies, and part of it is again because my DIY aesthetic and stuff. Almost anybody could go make a found footage movie. It's not going to be good if random people go and do it. It's not going to be this, but anybody could go make a found footage movie. So the barrier for entry is very low, but because it's so stripped down and minimalist, it's a lot harder to sell things. If it's not working, it's really not working. And one of the traps for found footage movies, especially for me, is music. Because really, a found footage movie shouldn't have music because unless unless it's a found footage movie about a band, why is there music scoring the found footage? So, and a couple of movies have done it where they try and explain that away, which makes it even worse to me. Like it makes it stand out even more. I love George Romero, but he made one of his Living Dead movies was found footage, and he tried to explain the music away by having a character say they edited the footage after they filmed it and added a score to it. That makes even less sense. So it's a lot of found footage use music, but it's very sparse, very minimalist, and very ambient just to heighten the atmosphere a little bit. So when you do notice it, it does pull you out a little bit. Just like Kelly was saying, he's dead on as far as I'm concerned on that. So I in complete agreement again.
Yeah, and it is, and this again, the music here in it is just what you talked about. It's subtle, it's
Mhm.
ambient, it's kind of building up on some of the things. So it's not overly intrusive by any stretch. It's
No.
not the Empire March kind of charging at you or anything. But it was still, and I think it was probably the clanging of this is like supposed to be found footage, so why is there a score there? Maybe that was it where I can't tell you. I'm pretty sure Cloverfield didn't have any score to it. I think it was completely found footage oriented. Or if there was any music, it was because it was they're at a party and it's playing that kind of thing. So, but not bad overall. I think this probably could have stood and been as good a movie without any score. But I don't think it's detrimental. I just every once in a while kind of noticed it more than I would have liked to. All right, now we'll go to visual. Visual's big, a lot of options here. It's the direction, it's any special effects, it's cinematography, any of that kind of stuff. So visually, I'm going to go four. So it's tricky on a found footage one because you don't want it necessarily to look great, but you also don't want it to look like we're trying to pretend this is found footage, and it's not. It's a pretty tough thing to pull off is to make it really read authentic. These guys being YouTubers doing a lot of stuff, I think that probably helped them a ton on how to make it realistic. But I'd go with a five, but there were just a couple moments. One there in about midway through the film, 2/3 of the way through the film, they're in a kind of a desert area. It's night, and the first character is like remarkably well lit, bright, super brightly lit. Which I guess you could assume, well, maybe those were the headlights or something. But it jumped out at me a little bit. It was just like that clang just a little bit, but not much, not much. I read, different qualities depending on which camera was being used and what the environment was. It was all handled nice and subtle and believable and all that. There was just every once in a while, and I think really that one scene was the only one that really jumped out at me to go, how is that being lit like that? And again, it could have been maybe I was just stupid and didn't realize, oh, that's because there's car headlights blasting on this guy, which would make him as brightly lit as he was. But the guys behind him didn't seem to be as affected. So not 100% sure on that. But I thought, this isn't a movie that's super heavy on special effects. There are injuries. There are significant injuries that occur in this movie. And trying to avoid spoilers here too much, but there's one young lady who has a really bad time, is treated pretty poorly. Typically, when some of those things happen, it becomes pretty evident that, you at least get a hint, particularly if it's not a really well established director and producer and stuff, to kind of pull off some of those really profound moments of violence. It just doesn't read necessarily, or they cut the camera away at the last second. But there was a moment in there where I was just like, that totally believable, and the actress didn't oversell it. Uh, Not that it was just to me pretty amazing. So I'll just say it involved a brick. So, and it was a very believable brickwork. So on both parts on the and so
Excellent brick acting.
yeah, so it was fine. The brick should get an award. The brick looked like a brick. It was great. But I thought they're going for a certain so this isn't going to be a Breaking Bad vistas of New Mexico kind of thing. But for found footage, very believable. The special effects as they were, all very, very well done. Not the cheesy 1980s blood that you might see in other shows, which we'll talk about later. And so we'll see. So I'm going to sit at four for visuals.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. We're dead neck and neck here. Four as well for me. Found footage is tough visually because to what I was saying before, found footage is like the punk rock of movies. It's stripped down to its basic core elements, which is what I love about it. But also, punk rock is short. So it's easy to kind of overstay your welcome when you're doing something that's just the core elements there. And there are found footage movies that are good, but even me, a fan of this type of movie, of this subgenre of movie, it can be exhausting to watch them sometimes. Just like certain albums, like exhaustion is a real thing, and watching something like that is just tiring on your eyes sometimes. Now, there are ways around it. Some are more subtle than others. Blair Witch Project's a good example because you have them making their documentary, so it cuts between the the film documentary footage that they're shooting, and then the rough video footage that was meant to be the behind the scenes that's their now disappearance video and stuff. Other movies try and deal with it in different ways. Some movies go too far in the opposite direction. Like they had to, so anybody's familiar with the paranormal activity movies, they get a lot of flack because they look too much like movies for found footage movies sometimes. Actually, they reshot the entire first movie because most of it is shot from the this husband character's perspective. Spoiler alert on a 20-year-old movie or however old it is now, but it's shot from his perspective. And the guy playing the role was an actual film crew guy. So he knew how to shoot a real movie. So even though it was all handheld and found footage, it looked like a movie because he knew what he was doing. So the producers actually made him go back and reshoot most of the movie because of that. They're like, it looks too nice. Like this doesn't even read as found footage sometimes. So it's tough. And then there's movies. Actually, Paranormal Activity, the last one, did this where it breaks the found footage thing in one shot and becomes like a actual just objective film, which I hate when found footage movies do that. There's a long running now found footage series called The Blackwell Ghost that's extremely popular online on streaming services. There are eight of them, and there's a ninth in production now. And the last couple did this on a couple of scenes. And I get it, they're just trying to break it up and make it visually different, but it ruins the found footage effect for me when that happens. So I felt that this consistently did as good a job as you can possibly do in keeping the visuals interesting and not exhausting to look at.
Fair enough. Um, and then finally, we're gonna have to continue to workshop this one a little bit, but we're gonna go with kind of favorite quote and then kind of rating the quote within the kind of the context of the movie. So, for instance, this is my boomstick, or all right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. Those would be quotes that would be five Panda quotes from Army of Darkness from Bruce Campbell. For this movie, this is my happy mask is the quote I'm going to go with. I'm going to give that four pandas. I thought it was a line that could have gone horribly wrong in terms of just not landing as creepy as they wanted it to land. Well played. It landed creepy. It was unpleasant. So so I'll go four pandas on this is my happy mask.
Same quote. Again, exactly the same. It's a four panda for me. It's just good line.
So that rolls us up to 20. So on a possible 25, it's a 20 for um, milk and cereal. So that's our first. Give us some feedback. Let us know if you like this kind of structure. So this is our first panda. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna make it through. So this is our first panda. If you're wondering why I'm being tentative, it's I am able to get through the slide without coughing. So this is like the third time. This is our first panda review of a movie. Let us know if you've got thoughts on how we could do it better, if you like the approach, if you have movies you'd like for us to see. So I appreciated this. I appreciate it even more, even though you're going to continue to deny that you recommended that I watch Megan is Missing, which is another found footage little thing, sort of, kind of, whatever it is. It's horrible. Never watch it. We're not going to review it. I
For
refused.
the record, I didn't recommend it.
I think you
I
did.
mentioned that
Pretty
I had
sure you
watched
did.
it. That's all.
It was written down and that with the clear penmanship of Mike's recommending this, and I should watch it. But don't listen to Mike on that. Don't watch Megan is Missing. It's horrific. This, however, good recommendation. So he's partially redeemed himself. Really enjoyed this one. Thought it was very good. Any closing thoughts, sir?
No, I really enjoyed it. I'm glad that I mean, obviously it worked out for them. They just put it up on their YouTube channel as a last resort for people to just finally see it. They edited it down to the hour long running time. Originally it was 90 minutes, apparently. They cut it down to an hour. I think it's the perfect length where it's at. And I've seen more and more found footage movies and screen life movies and things like that that are doing that now, clocking in at an hour or just over an hour. I really think that's the perfect length because it doesn't overstay its welcome, the shaky cam stuff, when you're doing it at that length. Host, which won all kinds of awards, did a similar thing that clocks in an hour. And I also mentioned the Blackwell Ghost series, which is on its about to be its ninth entry. It's extremely successful franchise. All but the first one, which I think is 90 minutes, are all just over an hour
Bog Panda.